And welcome to today's event. Find out why fax users are moving to Infor CloudSuite Distribution. I'm Action Industry Marketing Specialist, Jason Naxted. A little bit of info for you. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see some icons. From there, you can ask questions, view any of our attached resources, and or schedule a demo or reach out to Action or yourself. At the end of the presentation, you'll have time for questions. And as always, this will be recorded. So if anything you think you may have missed or a point you don't think we quite touched on, you can watch it online on our YouTube channel or view our landing page or reach out to Action to schedule a demo for yourself. Today's event will cover how old processes and approaches just don't cut it anymore. You need a solution that drives the rest of your business to be even more agile than the people and processes it supports, and why Infor CloudSuite Distribution is the answer to those challenges. Today's presenter is Mr. Rob Dallas. Rob has over 30 plus years working with the Infor distribution products and 15 plus years as a solutions consultant with SXE CloudSuite distribution products. And he not only understands the software, but also the needs of the distributors, which allows him to make better and choices and assist his customers. And without any further ado, here is Mr. Rob Dallas himself. Rob, take it away.
Thanks, Jason. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Jason was going over that history of my experience, many of those years were dealing with the fax product. So I will try to compare and contrast as much as possible during this webinar. As far as the agenda goes today, we're going to start out by looking at distribution industry trends. Then I have a slide that talks about the differences. I can compare and contrast, contrast CSD and fax. Then we'll talk a little bit about the deep functionality within the CSD distribution solution. And we're going to jump in and do probably a 15-minute demo, a sales scenario that I like to show that really illustrates the power of the system and the efficiencies that your users will gain versus what they're used to using today. Then a couple slides on the action difference in the conclusion. And then as Jason mentioned, we will have time for Q&A. So please enter any questions that you have within that Q&A panel. So Infor, who you know, is still the author, manufacturer of the software. They are now the third largest ERP software company in the world. You can see the strong micro-vertical positioning with CloudSuite Distribution. I think it's important to note that they're really striving to be leaders of technology and innovation. And how can we leverage the technology that we're used to using in our personal lives and make it easier, more enjoyable, more efficient to do our jobs at work? So as you know, there's been many challenges in the industry. As a distributor, you face challenges and are forcing you to rethink how you do business. Old processes and approaches just don't work anymore, and nor do older legacy ERP systems. So you need a solution that drives the rest of your business to be even more agile than the people and processes that it supports. So modernize your business and take it to the next level with Infor CloudSuite Distribution, which you've heard me refer to as CSD. It's a ready-to-run solution built specifically to meet the needs of distributors, gives you deep proven capabilities in key areas such as inventory management, order processing, pricing, rebate management, supply chain and procurement, value add, real-time accounting, financials, and more. How do you know when it's the right time to migrate to CSD? It offers a complete suite of functionality, whether that be light manufacturing with kitting and assembly, quotes and orders, warehouse management, asset management, rental services solutions, warehouse mobility. But really, I think, as a fax user, it's do you have the IT staff that knows the solution, and how long will you have them going forward versus transitioning to a next-gen product? Hosting it on site has its own challenges with hardware licensing requirements. Who's managing redundancy, firewall, virus protection? All of that is handled and eliminated for you with a migration to CSD. What's included with your subscription? Because as you know, or if you didn't, CSD is a true multi-tenant SaaS solution. So it's a subscription. Think of it as like your Office 365. So it automatically gets updated. We're not doing the every 5-7 years when you need a new server, it's time to upgrade. And that's a major ordeal. I've performed many of those myself. So what's included in your subscription? the core capabilities, as you would imagine: sales processing, your pricing, quoting, orders, invoicing, inventory management, procurement, forecasting, um, light manufacturing, assembly, kitting, rebate handling, proof of delivery. So your drivers, if you have your own trucks, can actually get digital signatures out in the field, similar to what you're used to experiencing with a UPS driver. And as I mentioned earlier, real-time accounting. So when you go post cash, it immediately hits. Journals are posted immediately. You're not locked out of doing any processing like you can run into in the fax system. And on top of the core capabilities, there are many optional capabilities. So this lets you price your subscription a la carte. You may not need them day one, but maybe in a phase 2, phase 3 approach, you may want to add these additional capabilities. Maybe a WMS solution, for example, where every touch of inventory is scanned, so we can get that 99.9% inventory accuracy. Different e-commerce solutions that we have, service and repair is becoming more and more popular, CRM to manage opportunities and pipeline, and many others. And all of it sits in what's called the Infor OS. This section is included. So Coleman AI, workflows and alerts, where you can define in a true flow chart what happens when an event occurs or should have occurred and didn't. Doc management solution, again, included and fully integrated, and I'll show you some examples of it. And all of it sits on AWS, Amazon Web Services. So let's take a second and do some compare and contrast of the two ERP systems, the two platforms. CSD runs in a browser, so no clients required. So if you have remote locations, you're probably using a VPN tunnel, right? That requires hardware. If you have remote workers that work from home, which is very common these days, or if when you're traveling, you need to get in and just check something on your system, you have to remote desktop. Again, that's to a server that utilizes Microsoft licensing. With CSD, as long as you have connectivity via Wi-Fi or cellular, you can get into your CloudSuite distribution system. I already mentioned that it's real-time processing and no file lockings. It's not case sensitive, right? We no longer have to yell at our customers. So everything doesn't have to be uppercase. I mentioned no more upgrades, just the monthly updates. It's a true relational SQL database. That means no more sort file rebuilds. The performance doesn't deteriorate the more inventory, the more customers, the more orders you have in the system. Right? Searches and reporting does not start to slow down, right, or lag. No errors. So if you have escape codes turned on today, you know what that's like, and it stops you in your tracks. Here you may get a diagnostic that you need to follow up on or research, but nothing that stops you in your tracks. Mentioned deep out of the box functionality and flexibility for doing what we call extensions versus that taboo term modifications. Because again, we're constantly staying current, so we need to be able to consume those updates. Some of the deep out of the box functionality, very good at non-stock management. It's designed from the ground up for large distributors, multiple locations, distribution centers, different ARPs, authorized replenishment paths for items at each location. Extensive search options, invoice consolidation, I mentioned in doc management, rebate handling, the advanced inventory management and the purchasing replenishment center is probably the deepest and greatest function within CSD. Expanded pricing module, sales tax interface for Avalara, for example, inventory allocations, intercompany sales, costing options for true landed cost, and much more. So with that, let's go ahead and let me share my screen. And let me just do entire screen. Okay, so now what you see, we're in CloudSuite Distribution. Again, I'm on an Edge browser on a MacBook Pro. It is truly device independent. Any browser will work as long as you have one of the most current browsers. As you can see here, now there's a system-wide search, so you don't have to go into inventory to do a lookup or sales order. You can type something in and get hits from all across your system. There is a main menu, as you'd expect, just like you're used to doing today in fax. Users only see the functions that you've granted them security to access. So an individual user can have a very slimmed down menu. We do have access codes like you're used to using today. But in addition to being able to type in the access code, you can just type in what you're trying to do. Meaning, I'm looking to set up pricing or to look up pricing. Well, now I see any of the functions that contain those characters that I typed in, or I could have entered in OEIP. We also have bookmarks. So again, maybe I want to have a shortcut or a favorite. You know, like in your personal lives, you have your entertainment site, news sites, sports sites, whatever it may be. That's what this is. It's just different functions that you might utilize on a more frequent basis. You can even have submenus within those bookmarks. So let's do a few different sales scenarios here in the short time that we have together. Let's do customers a pricing pricing lookup. What is their current cost? Do we have the product available? Then maybe check the status of an open order, and then we'll place an order as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, we don't have to go start a quote or start an order to look up pricing. We're going to jump into a function called customer pricing inquiry. Now, to look up customers, it's very simple. I can type in anything I know, part of their number, part of their name, and the more information I give it, it narrows down my search results. I could enter in their phone number, their zip code, a contact's name, an address. Again, whatever I know about that company, I just start typing and it narrows down my search results. Same with product. I could say I'm looking for a grill. Right? I sell many different grills. Well, I know it's a built-in grill. Notice any item that has those two words appear at the top. And again, order doesn't matter. This is all similar to what a Google lookup. I also get to see availability before I select an item. Right? Because I may not even want to look at an item if I don't have it. If you, let's say, sell 100 different built-in grills, maybe we want to do an advanced lookup, similar to your F2 that you use to search. Here we do have the option to do this search icon, the magnifying glass. And this is going to pop a window. I get to see product images, a short description, available quantity. But I want to point out is that there's a 256 character extended description, all of which is part of your lookups and searches. So anything that would help your users find products, we want to throw into that description. Dimensions, attributes, slang terms, anything they could utilize. So I'm going to go ahead and select an item. First thing you'll notice here is a nice pretty picture of the grill, but maybe you want to see the spec sheet associated with it, or you're somewhere in a system where there's not an image and you need to see what it looks like. Notice on the right, this panel, this is what's called the Smart Panel. And at the very top, we can launch what are called the widgets. So these are intelligent objects that are dynamic, and they're changing based on what you're using over in the main screen, the main part of CSD, meaning it knows what customer I'm looking at. It knows if I drop down and look at product information, well, here's the spec sheet for that grill, or here's the product, a product image. Okay? So again, as I navigate through the system, as I work with different orders, purchase orders, vendors, items, customers, I'm going to have this doc management system right here at my fingertips. Maybe I want to go in and quickly see the spec sheet. Maybe I want to email it off to the customer. And I could do that via Outlook or my browser, or even right here within the web part itself. Within the widget, I can email. And again, there's notes, there's activities, follow-ups, to-dos, contacts related to the customer, unlimited contacts on both the customer and vendor records. And you can leave this open. Most people close it for additional real estate, or you could pop it out to a secondary monitor if you have one of those environments. So we see what we have available here, the list price of the item, and notice this customer's today price. And I've also changed the color of this field. Lots of flexibility because it's a browser-based solution where we can move things around, you can relabel fields, you can change the color, you can hide fields, we can add new fields, and just because the underlying technology of a browser, of this browser UI. Okay, so let's say we've looked at what they were interested in. We gave them the available quantity, the price, but they do have a question about an open order. So I'm going to go ahead and go into order inquiry. And if I knew the number, I could enter it or select a recently visited. But all of the inquiries have this advanced search. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. And notice how I have 7 fields enabled or turned on. And that's because that's what I typically use when I'm looking for a sales document. Now, the great thing about this is it lets you tailor the user experience to your preference, because Infor wants to keep it simple and clean. We don't enable every field, or that would look complicated or cumbersome. So maybe typically these are the fields I use, but in this scenario, I need to turn on any other number of fields. Maybe a date range, maybe product, reference field. Let's pull in maybe transaction types, right? Because we want to filter out our quotes or our orders or whatever it might be. And again, because the underlying technology of the UI, it's just changing the user experience. You can have saved searches. So maybe as a sales rep, I want, with one click, be able to see my open orders, my open quotes, or a large job, or this customer that I work with the most, or my top 3 customers. I could quickly have filtered out their open orders, their open quotes, whatever it is that I need. I'm going to do a search based on the customer PO number. See here with multiple hits. Notice whenever you see a blue hyperlink, that means that you can always drill down or drill across. So it's more information right at your fingertips. So if I click on that, it takes me right into customer inquiry. And I didn't point out, but notice how there's just multiple tabs here open at the top within CSD. So I can be in as many functions as I want. It's still just one user license. I can even be in multiple sales orders at the same time. Okay. So here I see some general customer information, right? It's visual representations. So I can do my research. I can close out that inquiry. And now I'm back at my search results. I'm going to drill down into one of the orders. Now I see a representation of the order. Visual representation of the margin, maybe of what stage the order's in as it transitions through CSD. One big difference between Fax and CloudSuite Distribution is we only have one order number here at the top. We don't have a separate document number and then a different invoice number like you're used to doing in Fax. It's one number that just goes through different stages. And there's a 2-digit suffix if we have multiple shipments. That makes it much easier to collate on reports and inquiries. You'll also notice these subtabs that are listed across the top. So most of the screens have these as well. And again, it's more information right at your fingertips. So I could jump over to line detail and see the body of the order. Right? And all of these list views have some nice grid capabilities. Of course, I can sort by any column by clicking on that column. I can rearrange the columns in any way I want. There's always a ton of information in all these grids. So again, if there's something over there to the right that's important to you, you could pull it right over here next to the description. And that could be by individual user, by groups of users, or role-based, or company-wide if you want some consistency. Notice all the hyperlinks. Again, if I wanted to go in and look at a certain item, I can click on that hyperlink, and it takes me right into that SKU, into product inquiry, and I can see some important relevant information for that product. One other nice thing you could do is you can export any grid to Excel. Comes in nicely formatted with filtering already established, or you can even turn on filtering right within CSD. So maybe you're looking at this large 80-line order and I want to filter out a description that starts with certain characters or begins with or does not contain, because maybe I quickly want to see my tab extensions. So in any column, in any grid in CSD, you have this great filtering capability. Okay, what we did realize in talking to the customer is we didn't receive a physical copy of their PO. So what I'm going to do is let's open up our doc management web parts, right? And again, notice it's dynamic. It changed based on what I'm doing. I'm going to pull up their PO, and I'm simply going to just drag and drop it into that panel. And now it's asking me, okay, what are you associating it with? Well, the order entry header. And what is it? What's a customer PO? Now it knows how to digitally file the document. Now upload it. Now that document is part of this entity, in this case, the sales order. So anytime anyone's in editing, maintaining, or just looking at this order in an inquiry, they'll have access to that digital document or anything that you've associated with the order. All right, so let's say now they do want to place an order. So I am going to go ahead and let's jump over into OET, order entry. There's typically 4 things you would do in order entry. You would create a new order, maintain, edit an order, delete or cancel an order, or there's a great copy utility. You can copy from an old template order to a new order, an old customer order to a new one, and there's a flag, a checkbox that says reprice it with today's pricing. You can copy from one ship to another, even from one customer to a different customer. Very simple tool, but very powerful tool. Of course, notice when I click in the customer box, it remembered what we were working with. So any field you click in, the system remembers what you've been doing. So think of all that time we're wasted on yellow scratch pads or sticky notes. We're jotting down order numbers, item numbers, customer numbers. That goes away. I'm going to go and create a stock order. Again, there's only one entry mechanism for sales documents. So it makes it easy to learn. They're not different functions with different screen layouts. Of course, different things happen behind the scenes if it's a direct order, a quote, a return, a correction, a fulfillment order. But again, the look and the flow of it is exactly the same. So I'm going to go into the order. The orientation is left to right. So my header or banner is over here on the left. I could change the order type. If I started an incorrect order, I could change the customer, and I see a rolling total of my amounts, totals, and margin information. Different ways to select products here, which we'll talk about in a second, in the middle, and then my shopping cart or footers over here on the right. You get to set your default preference of how you want to find items. This is what's called easy entry. To me, it resembles what I'm used to doing in my personal life. If I go to Amazon, it's more of a consumer grade experience. So if I type in LED light, I'm going to get a list of my LED lights. I'm going to see product images. I have a nice description. I see availability, this customer's today price. Also in this interface, I could get hits from multiple items that the customer's interested in. And with one singular action, I could add those items to my order. I could hit finish right now and get out of the order. So it's built for speed, very fast. Maybe though the customer wants to buy something they've purchased in the past. So I'm going to pivot and go into another entry method called shopping. Now shopping, we can go off many different ways, but I'm going to go off of past sales. So for any time period, the system can produce what's called a simple list. So each item once of the items they've purchased. You see here it's providing availability information, their today price. This quantity recommended column is the last quantity they purchased, last data purchase, last price, product image, a ton more information, maybe cost and margin information if you have security to see that information. And again, you could pull those fields over to the left if you wanted. I could use the search option to find items I want. I could put a filter on the description column to find an item. But when I do find what they're looking for, what makes this grid unique is it's actually an order pad. So with the mouse, or I could just hit carriage return on my arrow keys to scroll through the lines, I simply go through and set the quantity of the items they're interested in. And then again, with one singular action, I can add multiple items to the order. And that was a list off past sales. There are other lists such as promotional products, maybe dead stock we're pushing, maybe models that are being replaced, and we're really good at managing that with what's called a supersede item, maybe custom lists for different products that you group together, maybe for certain types of customers, maybe even for your larger customers, you want to have a unique list. Here are the products they commonly buy. And then I could just go in and rifle through the quantities. And again, the system is built for speed. How quickly and easily can I get that order into the system? Another entry method that'll look more familiar to you in fact is what we call advanced entry. And this is where I could do a stock, non-stock special order line. Notice, again, very simple and clean, but there's a lot more information under extended fields, right? But you don't always need this information. And what's great, again, by user, if you wanted to, let's say I'm always looking at the cost and margin and the discount field. Well, I could take those three fields and move them over and put them, let's say, here on the bottom row. Again, that could be by individual user, role-based for a group of users, or company-wide. So one of the joys and the benefits of the technology of the browser UI is we have this flexibility. How can we tailor the experience to make it best for an individual user, to make it as easy as possible and enjoyable for them to do their jobs? Again, here I can enter in a SKU. If I want, I could enter in part of the description, just like we did in the pricing lookup. Anytime I see a product field, I just start typing. What do I know about it? And I can just hit carriage return and add that line. Maybe in this case, I want to add a frame. Right, and I can select my item. Maybe I want to tab over a couple fields, get to quantity. Now, when I hit carriage return, it's taking me automatically to an options screen or accessories because we want to suggest or upsell to the customer. Do you need any rollers, hardware, or belting? Again, it's as simple as selecting it, set my quantity, and then maybe in this one, it's belting. Let's leave it at 10 feet. Once you hit submit, now all three of those items were automatically added to my order, and I can see them over here in the shopping cart. And if I want to see this order in more of a grid look, I can always go into this order review view of it, and I can see it in a grid. We can do the rearrange columns. You could do the filtering. You could do mass pricing changes here. You can do multi-line sourcing. If you want to source 5 lines from one specific vendor, you could do that in this view as well. A lot of power and flexibility. If you wanted to look at, I mentioned earlier that you can hit finish at any time, but maybe I want to go review my taxes. Again, you can manually manage your tax jurisdictions, or you can interface with Avalara, for example, can see the totals of the order. Maybe I want to go and collect payment. And that could be a percentage or dollar amount, maybe a deposit. And that deposit stays with this order. It doesn't go on account that could be accidentally applied to turn cash receipts to another invoice. And it's automatically applied when this order is invoiced. Get a multiple payments on an order. Maybe they want to pay some by check, some by credit card. Fully integrated credit card system, meets all the latest federal PCI requirements. So though we can have credit cards on file, it's tokenized. So we're only displaying the last 4 numbers. That's all we have in the system, as well as a token, and then it gets translated. Or I could just hit finish, which again is going to go through any of our rules. Obviously, credit limit would be checked. Maybe we put fences around the sales rep that was entering it for margin tolerance, for letting them manipulate pricing. And if it passes, then of course it would just get processed. And there were, when it was time necessary, a pick ticket automatically prints. Every process and report in CSD can be scheduled and automated. So you don't have to go in and go print a batch of pick tickets that sit in the warehouse and then get picked when they're supposed to be picked. The system knows when it's time for action to take place. That's just one example of the level of automation that you're going to gain with CSD. Okay, let me check my time here and let me toggle back. Stop sharing my screen. Do have a couple more slides here. Hopefully that was a nice, again, quick look into a very powerful sales scenario, right? And how quickly we can get your users to find the information they need, whether it's pricing and availability, whether it's a status of an order. There's digital documents being right at their fingertips with the doc management web part, and then the ease of use of order entry and how fast we can get the information, whether it's previous prices they paid, previous products they bought, right? Whatever it is that you need to find in order entry, it's right at your fingertips. So in conclusion, Infor is very distribution focused. This is their flagship distribution product going forward. It's where they're investing all their dollars in R&D, new technology, and new functionality. Just a little bit about Action that you may not be aware of. We've gone through some growth as well. We are Infor's largest distribution partner, 25-year running gold partner. We've won the Circle of Excellence Award. We have expertise in distribution, like manufacturing, warehousing, and e-commerce. And currently we have over 225 employees across the country and offer support from 8 a.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Pacific time. But not only ERP support, we also have many other Action offerings. So again, if you didn't know that we have all these other offerings or solutions, please reach out to your account manager, or again, you can follow up. You'll see my contact information here in a second, or Jason, and we can put you in touch with the appropriate resource. So I think I saved a couple minutes, Jason. Did we have any questions?
I think right now you pretty much covered everything anybody needs to know right now. Reminder: this will be recorded. We'll get that out to you about 24 hours or so. You can watch it on your own time. And if there's anything you think we may have missed, go ahead, take a little note, and then reach out to myself, Action, or Rob Dallas. I'll give you his contact information in just a little bit. As a reminder, we have a handy-dandy landing page for info about migrating to Infor CloudSuite Distribution. You can go ahead and use your mobile device, scan that QR code, and see everything we have to offer, including upcoming events you can subscribe to and register for, as well as case studies, white papers, and customer success stories to view for yourself. Once again, I'm Industry Marketing Specialist for Action Associates, Jason Axted. With me, as always, is Rob Dallas. His email to reach out to is rdallas@action.com. You can reach out to him with any of your questions that you think may come up later, or schedule a demo for your company. Thank you for coming out. We know your time is very important and very busy, so we appreciate the time sacrificing your day to join us today on this Wednesday afternoon. So from myself, Jason Axted, and Rob Dallas, thank you, and have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.